Peter discovers like the room that him and Wendy and John and Peter from the original movie and story they used to like spend their time in. And when he enters this room and he's talking to Tink, he starts to slowly remember some things like from then. He remembers like where they used to sit and little things they used to do, and it all kind of starts coming back to him. And then he remembers his life before Neverland. Steve, do you want to tell us about his life before Neverland?
Well, I don't understand how the hell he remembers being an infant, for starters. There's a few little things in this movie.
How old is this baby? Like 3 months?
3 months, 4 months. He's still in a pram.
Like a baby.
Yeah.
Right?
This baby can't even crawl or scoot yet.
It's a baby.
Right? Tiny little kid. And so he's this tiny little baby. He's being pushed around in the park by his mother. You get a scene where, for some reason, the carriage is 50 feet from where his mother is sitting under a tree, and she's sitting on a bench telling some other woman about how Peter's going to grow up to go to all the best schools and is going to be successful. And then Peter starts talking about how he ran away.
Yeah.
But what we see happening is his carriage rolling down a hill, and it's number one, you had nothing to do with that. Number two, how does a 14-week-old baby run away? You don't know where you are, let alone what running away is. You don't even really know that your mother is your mother. You just know she's the one that takes care of you. Fucking. And then Tinkerbell steals his ass out of the carriage, as she's prone to do, and takes him to Neverland. I mean, and this begs so this does beg a question, going back to our conversation about how the aging works. My understanding of Neverland from the animated films and the story and blah, blah, when I was a kid is that once you're there, if you're a kid when you get there, you're a kid forever. You're just, for eternity, you remain a child. And you don't age unless you go back to the real world. But he gets taken to Neverland as a baby. And then when he's talking about his story, he talks about how he ended up going back to the real world to try to find his mother. And that he started viewing other people through their windows. And he met Wendy. And he went back to Wendy periodically. But he gets older during this period of time.
I think you age to a certain point.
Right. And then that begs the question that okay, and if that's the case, then why is Rufio older than the other ones?
Maybe he's hit the cap.
Right? Maybe in the other, but the what's his name? Thud, the big one.
Yeah.
Why is Thud's clearly been there for 75, 80 years.
Yeah, and then how long does that take? What's the time frame? Why aren't they growing up too then?
And Rufio wasn't there when Peter was there. He didn't get there till afterwards. So Rufio must have been older when he got brought. But then so
he was 8 when he got brought, according to that fan film.
Right. So Tinker's not always getting babies. Sometimes she takes older kids. Yeah. It's that kid's already old enough to know. But you take an infant, they don't really know the difference once they've been there for a while. You take an 8-year-old, he's I remember my life before this.
It's funny too, because you're right. So Peter says he ran away, but it shows just his stroller just rolls down a hill.
Right.
He's a baby.
But you can tell Tinkerbell told him that story later. She's yeah, you ran away.
Yeah, you were totally ran off.
So it's mixed memories with what really happened and what he was told.
Right.
She can't just say, I kidnapped you.
It's well, you do not remember being an infant. I'm sorry. You don't.
But it turns into a really sweet thing because he remembers meeting Wendy for the first time.
Yeah.
This happens after he goes to visit his original family, and that his family kind of moved on because he'd been missing for 5-6 years. So he finds another window to go visit someone, and it's Wendy. And that's when they meet, and they have their adventures from the original animated film.
Right.
And he comes back every so often. To him, it's probably no time at all, but he comes back, and she's older every time. She's Gwyneth Paltrow as a young girl. I think Gwyneth Paltrow older. I think Gwyneth Paltrow even older, and then Maggie Smith. Boom.
That was something...
Transition's hard there. She's old.
Right. The difference in the way time passes is something I didn't get for the first few years until I'd watched the movie 4 or 5 times when I was a little older. But you must be right, because we'll talk about it when we get there. But when he goes back with the kids at the end, the implication is that it's only been one night for his wife.
Oh.
At least that's what it seems to me. I could be misinterpreting, but it seems to me what they're implying is that only one night has passed for her, where several days passed for them in Neverland.
I thought the same thing, because at the end, she's in the room, and she's shocked to see them, but yeah, it's been one night or a day or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
When Peter does go to see Wendy and she's old, that's actually when he decides to stay, when he's about 13.
Yeah.
He sees, because Wendy's old, she has a granddaughter, he sees her granddaughter, and he's he's kind of like, I guess, getting feelings that maybe he's never felt before.
Yeah.
And he realized he wants to stay and start a family.
Right.
And that's his happy thought. And it, boom, kicks into real time. And he's like, oh shit, that's my happy thought. And you see him like flying. And he starts to like forget it for a moment. And Tinkerbell's like, all you gotta do is keep thinking about that. And boom, he's back. He's Peter Pan. And as a kid, this was like one of my favorite moments of the movie. I was like always really excited when he becomes Pan again. And he's like flying through Neverland and everyone's super excited. And
right.
he like one-ups Rufio. He goes and like cuts off his belt and Rufio's pants fall down. Pretty good, man.